Welcome to Inside British Royals. This is your exclusive look inside the world's most famous family. We are exploring the scandals, secrets, and power plays that define the modern monarchy. If you are new here, please do well to hit that subscribe button for more updates. For years, the world has speculated about the real reason for Harry and Meghan's shocking split from the royal family. We were told it was about the media, about a desire for independence. But a former royal butler has just revealed the secret turning point that happened only months before their departure, a hidden event that changed everything. In this video, we expose the timeline that truly destroyed the Fab Four and changed the monarchy forever. The image of William, Kate, Harry, and Meghan was once the ultimate symbol of a modern monarchy. They were the Fab Four, a powerhouse of charisma and duty, ready to lead the royals into a new era. But behind the coordinated outfits and public smiles, a very different story was unfolding. According to Grant Harold, a former butler who served in the royal household for years, the relationship had soured long before the world had any idea the Fab Four was finished. What he reveals points to a specific window of time where it all went wrong. To really understand what happened, we need to go back to the beginning. It feels like a lifetime ago, but there was a time when the Fab Four was a beacon of hope for the House of Windsor. When Meghan Markle first joined the family, her arrival was seen by many, including Prince William, as a huge positive. An expert revealed that William was initially genuinely happy that his brother had found someone who brought him so much joy. He reportedly found his new sister-in-law quite refreshing and wanted nothing but the best for Harry. Together, the four of them projected an image of unity and modernity. They attended forums, shared jokes at official events, and seemed to represent a collaborative future. The public was captivated. Here was the heir to the throne, William, and his dependable, elegant wife, Kate, side by side with the charismatic spare, Prince Harry, and his trailblazing American wife, Meghan. It was a PR dream, and, for a little while, it seemed real. They were a little gang. Insiders from that time recall an easy chemistry between the two couples. They were a single, powerful unit, working together under their joint charity, the Royal Foundation, which was designed to harness their collective star power for global good. This was the promise of a new generation of royals, less stuffy, more relatable, and perfectly in sync. But what happens when the dream turns into a nightmare? And when the public image is the only thing holding it all together? Because while the world was celebrating, behind palace walls, the foundation was already cracking. The signs, though subtle at first, were impossible to ignore. The fairy tale was about to unravel faster than anyone could have predicted. The first public sign that something was wrong came in March 2019. News broke that Prince Harry and Meghan were splitting their royal household from William and Kate. Officially, it was framed as a natural step. Harry and Meghan were expecting their first child and needed their own office. But for royal watchers, it was a major red flag. Their initial request for a completely separate court had been denied by the Queen, suggesting the split was more tense than the palace was letting on. This wasn't just office politics, it was a symbolic separation. For the first time, the public saw the two brothers, once inseparable, formally going their separate ways. But the real damage was happening far from the cameras. Just a few months later, in June 2019, the next bombshell dropped. Harry and Meghan announced they were leaving the Royal Foundation, the flagship charity they shared with William and Kate. This was a definitive statement. The very organization meant to embody their joint mission was being dismantled. Professionally, at least, the Fab Four was over. The dream was shattered. These events were spun as logistical moves, but in reality, they were the aftershocks of a private rift. Behind the scenes, tensions that had been simmering for months were boiling over. Reports suggest friction started not long after Harry and Meghan's 2018 wedding. One source claimed that their father, the then Prince Charles, had to step in after William was seen as not being welcoming enough to his new sister-in-law. The public was still seeing smiles, but the truth was a world away. These professional splits weren't the cause of the breakdown. They were the result. And the real story, the one that led directly to the explosive exit, was about to enter its most critical phase. This brings us to the explosive insight from Grant Harold, a man who served King Charles for 7 years and saw the inner workings of the family up close. His credibility comes from his proximity to the key players, giving him a unique view of the crisis. According to Harold, there was a specific, hidden turning point that sealed the family's fate. Harold identifies the exact window when the damage became irreversible, stating, "We saw William, Kate, Harry, and Meghan do so many things together initially. But the turning point was a few months before the announcement that they were stepping away from royal duties." He points to the summer of 2019 as the last time the group seemed truly united. After that, something changed dramatically. They were doing events in the summer prior to that, Harold noted, so something must have happened in between. That phrase, "something must have happened in between," is the key. It points to a secret timeline, a series of private events that took place after that summer, leading directly to the January 2020 exit. While the public saw the fallout, the split households and dissolved foundation, Harold points to a moment of impact that happened out of sight. What could that something have been? While Harold doesn't name an incident, he's clear that the once positive dynamic had totally soured. William's early optimism about Meghan had evaporated. The bond between the brothers, once the bedrock of the monarchy's future, was broken. Harold's testimony confirms that by late 2019, the camaraderie the world saw was just an act. The private tension had become so catastrophic that it was only a matter of time before it exploded. This wasn't a slow drift, it was a sudden break. The period between summer 2019 and the end of that year was the crucible where the Fab Four was destroyed. If you're fascinated by the hidden stories of the royal family and want to know what really is, something that former royal butler Grant Harold alluded to wasn't just a simple disagreement. As details have slowly emerged, a picture of a relationship in freefall has come into focus. The most shocking evidence supporting this hidden timeline comes from Prince Harry himself. In his memoir, Spare, Harry described a furious argument with William that allegedly escalated into a physical fight. This was no brotherly spat. Harry claimed the argument, which took place at his London home in 2019, was about Meghan. He alleged William called her difficult, rude, and abrasive. As the confrontation spiraled, Harry alleged William grabbed me by the collar, ripping my necklace, and he knocked me to the floor. This alleged incident fits perfectly into the turning point timeline Harold described. It suggests the private tensions had moved beyond words and into physical conflict. The bond wasn't just fractured, it was, for a moment, violent. This fight was the point of no return. It's one thing to split households. It is another thing entirely for the heir to the throne and his brother to come to physical blows. This event, hidden from the world, was a symptom of the immense pressure and resentment that had been building for months. Around the same time, in the autumn of 2019, Harry and Meghan took a 6-week break from royal duties and spent Christmas in Canada, away from the rest of the family at Sandringham. It was a significant move, as the royals' Christmas gathering is a deeply held tradition. While they were away, plans for a potential move to Canada were leaked to the press, reportedly infuriating the couple. The trust was gone. The family unit was broken. The private war was about to become a public declaration. On January 8, 2020, the private turmoil exploded. Without warning, Harry and Meghan posted a statement on Instagram that shook the monarchy to its core. It began, "After many months of reflection and internal discussions, we have chosen to make a transition this year in starting to carve out a progressive new role within this institution." The Post declared their intention to step back as senior members of the royal family and work to become financially independent. The execution was stunning. This wasn't a coordinated palace announcement. It was a unilateral move. Key figures, including the Queen and Prince Charles, were reportedly caught off guard by the timing and forced to scramble for a response. The palace's brief initial statement hinted at the chaos, warning of complicated issues that will take time to work through. The hashtag Megxit started trending worldwide as the public tried to make sense of it all. While the Sussexes' statement spoke of a progressive new role, the reality was one of internal crisis. In their haste to control the narrative, they had detonated a bomb at the heart of the family. A source later revealed to The Telegraph that Harry came to have second thoughts about how the announcement was handled, claiming he didn't fully appreciate the impact of not consulting the Queen and later regretted it. But the regret came too late. The line had been crossed. The carefully managed facade of the monarchy was ripped away, exposing the bitter divisions underneath. Just 10 days later, on January 18, 2020, Queen Elizabeth II issued her own statement. It was a masterclass in monarchical authority, both supportive and firm. She began by saying that constructive and supportive discussions had taken place, and made it clear that Harry, Meghan, and Archie would always be much-loved members of my family. But then came the hammer blow. She stated she would have preferred they remain full-time working royals. She confirmed they would no longer use their HRH titles in an official capacity, would step back from all royal duties, and would no longer receive public funds. The Queen added bluntly, Harry and Meghan have made clear that they do not want to be reliant on public funds in their new lives. The dream of a hybrid, half-in, half-out role was officially dead. This statement was the result of an emergency family meeting known as the Sandringham Summit. Only the key players were there: the Queen, Prince Charles, Prince William, and Prince Harry. Meghan, who was in Canada, did not join the call. Harry's own account of that summit is chilling. He later described the meeting as terrifying, claiming his brother, Prince William, screamed and shouted at him, while his father said things that simply weren't true. He felt a final wedge being driven between him and his family, believing William was no longer on his side, but was now fully aligned with the institution. This was the final, formal severing of their bond. The Fab Four was a distant memory. What was left were two brothers on opposing sides of an institutional wall. The exit of Harry and Meghan was more than a family drama. It was a defining moment for the modern monarchy. It exposed the brutal clash between a centuries-old institution and the demands of modern celebrity, personal freedom, and mental health. Grant Harold, the butler who watched the brothers grow up, described their current relationship as devastating and heartbreaking, a far cry from the closeness he once saw. Looking back, the turning point becomes clear. The Fab Four was a fragile idea, built on public hope but undermined by private friction. The professional splits in 2019 were just tremors. The real breaking point, as Harold identified, happened in those hidden months after the summer of 2019. It was a period marked by escalating arguments, a shocking physical altercation, and a complete breakdown of trust. The final announcement wasn't the beginning of the end. It was the public confirmation that the end had already happened in private. Harry and Meghan's statement may have spoken of many months of reflection, but the fallout showed it was a move born from desperation. The Queen's firm response and the tense Sandringham Summit weren't negotiations. They were damage control. Today, the rift remains. The two brothers, once a little gang, are separated by an ocean and a chasm of resentment. The promise of the Fab Four has become a cautionary tale about the pressures of royal life and the devastating consequences when family duty clashes with personal happiness. The question that lingers is whether the damage can ever be repaired. As Grant Harold himself has said, for things to move forward, somebody's got to back down.